Hello and welcome to a live stream of Parallel Disney. So, first off, I'd like to say I selected 4 videos, 4 POVs that were online on YouTube. They're from JS Land, Theme Park Shark, LMG Vids, and Attractions Magazine. They're both very good qualities. So, without further ado, let's start with overhead view of what the attractions look like. The brand new attraction is much more rectangular and has to go across some back of house areas, which I believe leads to some interesting quirks with the length of the building in this attraction. Looking at the one from Hollywood Studios, it's a much more square rectangular building. And if I put them side by side, just a fun little way to look at the two of them. At Hollywood Studios, you have the Gromit's Chinese Theater, which is now the TLC Theater in Los Angeles, which is just referred to as the Chinese Theater. In Disneyland, it's the El Capitan Theater, which is a tunified version of the El Capitan, which is owned by Disney in Los Angeles. And it's quite interesting because in real life, both of these theaters are very close proximity on the same Hollywood Boulevard. Inside the queue, it's pretty well themed to the Chinese Theater, but there's not a whole lot to it outside of that. Not a lot of fun, whimsical theming. Of course, at the new El Capitan Theater, there's a lot of glorious theming elements inside of it. Something that sort of parallels a little bit is near the end in the El Capitan Theater. You see the posters of the new Mickey Mouse shorts. And those shorts are the same posters that you see in the Hollywood Studios version, but in Hollywood Studios, these posters are screens, while at the El Capitan Studios in Disneyland, they're actually posters. So some fun little differences in the actual pre-show. In the Chinese Theater, the bars, before entering in, have these fun little designs to them. The El Capitan, they're more or less just standard looking horizontal bars. Also, as you can see, the decoration on the walls are all different as well. Another interesting feature at the Hollywood, there's a pre-background that kind of blends in with the sidewall elements. And same thing with the Toon Theater, but here you have, instead of having just a background element, as it just fades in, there's no banner. It just goes right into the video. So the little film bars are actually animated before the film starts instead of just being static like at Hollywood Studios. A fun feature that I noticed at the end of the film, in Disneyland, when the explosion happens, there's this, let's slow it down. So you see the, sort of a pre-image of the crack in the screen that expands as it comes up. So if we go back to Hollywood Studios, find the same position. So as we slow it down, you see it doesn't have that explosion effect. The screen just rises up. And since the Disneyland version did this, it definitely hides the element of the screen raising much better. Then we get to the inside of the queue. The bulk of the theming of the inside is very similar, but something that I noticed is these elements on the wall. So these elements are much lower in Hollywood than they are at Disneyland. See how these side elements are now much higher. So let's go ahead and just play a little through. Enjoy the whimsical music.
Testing. Is this thing on? Can you all hear me way back in the back?
So this version is the Hollywood Studios version at Disney
Ready
World.
for a relaxing ride around the park?
Hiya, folks.
Hello there.
Hiya, Goof.
Hey, Mick and Mim.
Oh, be sure you take good care of our friends.
Gorsh, they're with me. What could possibly go wrong? Well, back to work.
Oh, no! I must have hit that track switch.
Goofy, wait!
This is all my fault.
Oh no! He's jumping the track!
Kitty, let's get that runaway.
So in the Disneyland version, at the start you have this here, and you have this concrete archways before getting to the wooden archways. Here you can see where the two archways start, and you got the brick wall, and here it's just the rocks and wood, so there's no interesting split transition here. So yeah, this is kind of a jarring transition actually. But hey, it's interesting. It's a fun little difference. So again, the Disneyland version, as you can see, they have a lot further to go. And that's a fun little difference a lot of people don't particularly notice, is that the sign falls down at Hollywood while it just spins around at Disneyland. And I kind of find the falling down element overall a little bit better. On Hollywood Studios, there is this, painted on illusion of a track continuing on forward. The Goofy conductor engine turns off to the left. At Disneyland, the Goofy engine just continues going straight. But you can see that the tunnel up ahead, Goofy just goes straight through, and there's no veering off to the left. And I think that's a fun little difference a lot of people may not notice. Into the next scene in the canyon, let's go ahead and play out a little bit of the Hollywood Studios version. Yeah, happy 2023. Alright, now let's get some of these side by side. Something I noticed, I don't know why I find it so noticeable, is this little swirl on this column in the canyon. It's just so noticeable, I figured I ought to mention it. And then another thing of note that a lot of people have noticed is at the Disneyland version, you have this underpass with the rickety wooden bridge element. So something also interesting is where Minnie Mouse comes in. Here we see Minnie is already kind of on the left side area. Now watch where Minnie comes from at Disney World. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So Minnie, she's already on the other side. So that's definitely a interesting big different element. Some other little things we got this cactus over here on the entrance is more elevated, and looks like you got an exit sign at Disney World. Move on to the tornado scene, or I guess the carnival scene.
Hooray, hooray, hooray! Step right up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
Hot dog! There they are!
Yoo-hoo! We'll be right down.
Alright, something I want to show off right off the bat is how there is a great movie ride reference for this poster on the Walt Disney World version, and this is not present at the Disneyland one. So in the Disneyland one, it seems to just be an advertisement for tickets. So that's kind of fun that tribute only stays where the great movie ride once resided. Alright, so another fun difference is kind of unfortunate that Disneyland sort of just decided not to do is looking at these flags. And I don't know if maybe it's possible that they're just not working at Disneyland. But as you watch the flags, you'll notice that the Walt Disney World version, they'll flip directions, and they're just stationary at Disneyland. And hopefully that's maybe just an element that is currently out of order. Alright, so something I found interesting, the Disneyland version, you have the lightning striking at the start, but then at the Disney World version, it strikes at the end. And the Disney World one, it's in the back area. Alright, now for the water scene. Such a soothing and mellow scene. For the most part, it appears that the Walt Disney World screen is a little larger. That accommodates for the area towards the end. So let's go ahead and skip to the point where the video sequence is more the same. But when you get to the squid, at Disneyland you have to go under the squid. Well, at Disney World, you just continue past. And therefore, there's sort of a extra sequence at Disneyland where the squid pulls a drain, where you go through, and the drain is pulled. And here's where you go to the side. So the area where the water is rushing by, because you got a whole lot of more kind of random pipes on the wall at the Disneyland version, and then at the Disney World version, it seems like a more normal looking wall. Alright, now the city scene. Let's go ahead and start with a Disneyland playthrough. Oh, sorry, this is Disney World.
Welcome, dancers, welcome. Come. Oh, look at all those bright, smiling faces. It's so nice to see you. Come on in. Don't be shy. That's right. Everyone to your positions. Ready? And 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Oh, excellent. You're all waltzing so beautifully together. Oh. Now, let's
So great. Love the Mickey Disco Ball. So, here we also start to see a few more elements at Disneyland that seem to slightly downgrade things. And the main one is this fire hydrant. Let me split these right here. Alright, and let's get them in. Alright, let's see how that does. Look at that, shakes left and right. A much more pleasing experience than the up and down that we find at Disneyland. Up, down, up, down, up, down. Hey, it's Future Me, just stopping by to say that this element at Disneyland actually does do the better form of shaking. It just happened to not be working during this and multiple other recordings. Alright, another interesting difference that I noticed is this business, I guess Pascal Portrait. Hey, Future Me again. I just wanted to come back here because I was really bumbling through this part. Anyways, there are two shops on the left side, Restaurant and Eschenroder's at Hollywood Studio. Disneyland has T by Lee and Pascal Portraits. Not exactly sure if that's referencing anything or not, but I find it interesting that these two storefronts are different. Everything else seems fairly identical. Back up a thing. So yeah, even there, like the side of Donald's truck, it's like the 22 delivery service, Grand Central Hotel. Same thing, and even the video in the background seemed very similar. So I thought it was very surprising that storefront has a different name. All right, now for a more interesting difference. Inside the dance parlor, so at Disneyland, there's already a disco ball present, and the center bit, as you can see, it's just kind of painted. It's not, you can't see through it. There's not actual hangings. Let me arrange it to where we can see it at Hollywood Studios. There you go. You see the chandelier difference, and also there's no disco ball to be seen. And again, the corners are also cut off, so you have more mirror panes. And I want you to focus on the chandelier. I believe you see it in this one. And this gives Hollywood Studios a bit more props. Oh, and also you got the studio lighting, that's you don't really have in Hollywood either. So it makes the disco and cha-cha bit a bit more surprising in Hollywood Studios.
Everyone to your positions. Ready? And 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Oh, excellent. You're all waltzing so beautifully together. Oh.
All right. Hopefully it's still in there. Keep an eye here.
Now, let's count.
The disco ball, it drops down and lights up. I just think that's super cool, and I don't know, that kind of really boosts Hollywood Studios' prestige, in my opinion. Let's I like that disco ball bit so much better. Let's see it in its full glory as it drops down.
Now, let's
All right. But another thing of note is how in the Disneyland version, the ride vehicles kind of have to be stacked more behind each other than in Hollywood Studios, with it being a wider studio. As you can see, they're quite distant. Hang on, that's too much towards the end. As you can see, you're never directly behind. And that's another nice feature about having a wider space. Alright, I think we've spent enough time in the dance studio. Let's go on to, arguably, I guess, the climax of the scene. And let's start out with the Hollywood Studios POV. Oh, actually, I just remembered another feature worth mentioning is as you exit from completely different sides. See, at Hollywood Studios, you exit on the left, and at Disneyland, you exit on the right. Here, I kind of had those already chopped up. So, another fun feature. All right, now back to the climactic scene. I like how he ends that with "let's eat." He definitely has his priorities straight. Alright, there are definitely some fun side-by-side things to see here. I believe this one currently is the Hollywood Studio version, where you got the trash can and a big dumpster. There we go. So here, you got the dumpster, the trash can as well. It's slightly different laid out. Now in Hollywood Studios, the trash can shakes, and I believe you can hear a cat. Catch it in that one. Let's put down by itself. All right. Don't hear it in that one. I think one of these did have it where you can audibly hear it, and the trash can also shakes. Okay, that I think you hear the cat screech, but you sadly don't get the view of the trash can. All right, so back to Disneyland again. Like no cat streak, and the trash can doesn't shake. I think in this one you are able to see it shake a little bit. It is moving. It's a little hard to tell in that sequence. Hey, it's me again. There's another difference that I just found, and I had to share it before, posting this. At Hollywood Studio, there's a red lighting effect that pulses and is quite blurred and undefined. Disneyland has a lighting effect as well, but this time they're more like spotlights, and you can actually see some triangles inside them. Alright, now for the main thing I wanted to show off in this sequence. Let's see. And just the main thing I want you to pay attention to is the trees and how they look at the end. The trees are a lot more pointy at Hollywood Studios, and they kind of have flat tops at Disneyland. Now, if we look at the more close-up POVs, okay, so keep an eye on the equipment as it transforms. All right. So you see how it's a cloth that the two poles collapse together, creating a point, which is a really good effect to turn some machinery into a tree. Now, at Disneyland, so instead of having cloth, they have more hard materials, and they just kind of... So if you keep an eye right here at the top of this area, you'll notice that a screen descends, and then these two portions collapse together to create their tree, which is still a neat effect, but I think I find it a little less impressive when watching. But I can't necessarily say that this one is actually a downgrade, just different. So now on to the finale, the end.
Relaxing right around the park. And thanks for sticking with me. Hey, picnickers! Told you nothing was gonna go wrong.
Nothing can stop us now. I am so flying together.
We've had one crazy round. Love is by my side. The stars will be on the ground. Nothing can stop us
All right, now let's go ahead and pull up the side by side. So first off, actually, good thing to start off with is how in Disneyland there is now this whole covered tunnel, covered bridge, and there's also a whole different animated sequence that Goofy goes through. And there's where Goofy's animation picks back up, and a lot of people have mentioned him waving the wrong direction, and that is definitely a thing. But the point where he does the wave is like so far that even if he was waving in the other direction, he still wouldn't be waving at them. So it's kind of a lose-lose situation, even if they do potentially mirror the animation. And I assume it has to do with the pacing of where the turn is and where it's at. Alright, now let's go ahead and... Fun little differences is how the Disneyland version now has a stream on either side. At Hollywood Studios, there is only the one on the left. And of course, also, as we probably all notice, is that they're on opposite sides of the track now. Disneyland, they're on the right. Disney World, they're on the left.
Told you nothing was gonna go wrong.
Nothing can stop us now. I knew somehow that we would find.
And they both have fireworks going on.
We've had one crazy ride, but with you by my side, the stars will be our guide, and nothing can slow us down.
So, here where you see, I believe it's Chubbs, there's a lot less, could be the angle, you don't see as much starry field in the background behind the barn. I believe a weather vane is still located at Disneyland, it's just not as well lit, or just a different type of camera lighting is preventing it from showing up as well. So, something I find rather intriguing, I guess at this moment I'd like to point out the interesting shadow effect that they have for Chubb, as it's not, due to it being projections and stuff, it's not from the same element. They actually have to animate the shadow completely separately. So in Disneyland, it's synced up quite nicely together. Now at Hollywood Studios, they were synced up at one time, but now and for a while, it's been lagged. Alright, so I just watched the shadows. As you can see, they're quite delayed at Hollywood Studios, and it's been like that for quite a bit now. So maybe one day they'll have that fixed and everything will be good once again. Alright, that's what I got for now, I guess. Hey, it's me again. Thanks for watching, and please consider subscribing. I know this is a rather different format, but I thought I would try something different that would allow me to get this video out much quicker than if I made it my usual way. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And as always, until next time.